Before the convenience of cell phones, text messaging, and frequent rest stops, like a Cracker Barrel, because when you're on a road trip, you need a place to drop the kids off at the pool. Bernie Taupin, the lyricist that teamed up with Elton John to write this 1970s hit,
and you can tell everybody this is your song.
One day, unexpectedly, he came up with a great idea for another hit song, but he had no means at the time to jot the words down. So now let's go back to 1971 when Bernie Taupin decided to take a trip to visit his parents who lived in a small is probably being a little too generous. It was a tiny village with about 200 residents in North Lincolnshire, England. Bernie Taupin's childhood was spent around farmhouses in remote villages. His father was an independent farmer who moved the family to a 10-acre farm to raise chickens for their eggs. There wasn't much to do there, so Bernie Taupin would frequently hitchhike along the country roads to visit other tiny towns. But despite his rural upbringing, he had great literary influences he would later tap into when he partnered with Elton John. Bernie Taupin's mother had studied French literature, and her dad, his grandfather, was a classics teacher and University of Cambridge alumni. It was on this 1971 remote road trip that he came up with the first stanza, or verse, for a song after seeing what was either a shooting star or the lights of a distant airplane in the night sky. The premise for the song was developed from a Ray Bradbury science fiction work titled The Illustrated Man, which had a short story in there that served as its inspiration. As Bernie Taupin recalled, in that book there was a story. I kind of took that idea and ran with it, and he had the perfect opening verse. Unfortunately, England is known for closing up shop early in the evening, especially back then. 24-hour food marts and gas stations weren't prevalent like you now find all along the highways in the US. So when lightning struck and a new lyric was created, Bernie Taupin had to ensure he didn't forget it. Remember, this is 1971 in northern England, no cell phones, no late-night businesses, and unfortunately, no pen or pencil. That's right, despite him being a lyricist for a few years now, he didn't carry a notepad or a pen. Bernie Taupin later remarked about this notable trip, saying, "I had to repeat it to myself for 2 hours, but since it gave him a huge hit, looking back, he said he thought it was worth it." And we happen to agree. Here is the famous opening verse written for Elton John that had to be repeated for 2 hours by Bernie Taupin so he wouldn't forget it on his long drive to see his parents.
She packed my bags last night, pre-flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m. And I'm gonna be high as a kite by then.
Now that's a sonic gem worth remembering.
Rock